Okay, so get ready because today we are diving into some seriously weird stuff. You guys have been asking about those drone sightings, and let me tell you, this is a little bit more interesting than your average, like, internet conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
We've got reports from all over the world, whispers of some crazy technology that we don't really understand.
Hold on.
And get this, we even have some hypnosis transcripts that are claiming to, like, reveal what's really going on.
The variety of sources you've managed to pull together for this deep dive is really fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, we have these news articles that are reporting on the sightings themselves, and then you have kind of the usual social media
Right.
buzz,
Yeah.
and then these unusual hypnosis transcripts, which I find particularly intriguing.
Right. Hypnosis transcripts. It's
Yeah.
not every day you get to like peek into someone's subconscious exploration of, maybe alien encounters. But before you think that we've gone totally off the deep end here, our mission is to sift through all this noise, try to separate fact from speculation, and see if we can find any plausible explanations for all of the stuff that's going on. And who knows, maybe we'll even have some like mind-blowing aha moments along the way.
Our goal is to present the information from these really diverse sources, analyze it very carefully, and let you, the listener, decide what to make of all of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. So let's start with like what we know for sure. Okay, so back in December of 2024, people started reporting all of these unidentified drones. They're appearing everywhere. I'm not talking about like your run-of-the-mill hobbyist drone.
Right.
These were like large-scale, sophisticated machines, and there were a lot of them, which, frankly had everyone kind of scratching their heads.
The geographic distribution was really quite striking. We're talking about sightings across the U.S., France, Spain, Russia, the Emirates, North Africa, Australia. So it really does seem that no corner of the globe was spared from these events.
Yeah, it does not seem like this was an isolated thing.
Yeah.
And it gets weirder.
Okay.
So multiple witnesses describe these drones as being deployed from massive cloaked motherships. We're not talking about your typical, UFO sighting here. These motherships were described as unbelievably huge. There was one witness in Europe who claimed that the one that they saw was the size of the Iberian Peninsula and half of France.
That detail, if true,
Mm-hmm.
is particularly striking. It suggests a level of technology that is really far beyond anything that we currently possess.
Totally.
If something that massive could remain undetected by our radar systems, it really raises some serious questions about the capabilities of whoever or whatever is behind all this.
Totally. It's mind-boggling, and this is where those hypnosis transcripts come into play.
Okay.
Now, I know this might sound a little bit out there.
Yeah. But remember, we're exploring every angle here.
Yeah.
So these transcripts, they describe interviews with people who claim to access information about the beings behind these drones while they were under hypnosis.
It's really important to approach these transcripts with a healthy dose of skepticism, of course. Hypnosis is a very complex tool. Information that is gleaned from it should always be carefully scrutinized. But at the same time, the level of detail and the consistency across multiple transcripts makes it really difficult to simply dismiss them.
Yeah, you can't just ignore them.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, let's unpack what these transcripts reveal. According to these folks that were interviewed, they're saying that the drones are actually being operated by a diverse group of non-human entities.
Interesting.
They describe skeletal beings that are residing within the motherships.
Okay.
And they're not describing them as organic life forms, more like robotic or programmed entities. That's interesting. The description of these skeletal beings really does deviate from that typical gray alien archetype that we usually associate with UFO lore. This really could suggest we're dealing with something entirely different.
Right.
Perhaps artificial intelligence, maybe even a type of being that we don't really understand right now, outside our current understanding of biology.
Right. It's definitely not your typical alien encounter story.
Right.
And it gets even more complex because they describe 3 other types of entities that are involved. One, they're called archons, and they seem to be acting as guides or intermediaries. Then there are these black, parasitic, tadpole-like entities. And then finally, tall, gray-white humanoids with long limbs.
So it's a very diverse group.
It's quite a motley crew.
It really is.
So what are these beings up to?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Well, according to the hypnotic interviews, the purpose of the drones is to collect data on human populations, specifically focusing on areas of what they call lack or need.
Okay.
Things like fear, scarcity, and health issues.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, so this raises the question of why they would be interested in that kind of data.
That's right. Are they simply just observing us? Or are they potentially trying to manipulate events on Earth, maybe for their own purposes?
Okay, now get ready for this because this is where it gets even stranger.
Okay.
They say that the way they store this data is, get this, in biological membranes that are shaped like eggs or cocoons.
What?
Yeah. I mean, talk about organotechnology,
The
right?
use of biological material for data storage is incredibly fascinating.
Right.
It suggests a level of technological sophistication that seamlessly blends the organic and the artificial.
Totally.
It's far beyond anything that we've been able to achieve. And it really begs the question, where did they get this technology and what else are they capable of?
It's mind-blowing. One of these interviewees, they actually coined a term. They're calling them Destronados
Okay.
to refer to this collective group of entities that are, involved in this drone operation.
The term destroners is very interesting because it seems to hint at what they believe their motive is, and that is to challenge or to dismantle the existing control grid that they believe is manipulating human consciousness.
Okay, hold on. For people who haven't heard this before, can you kind of break down what this control grid thing is?
So for those who are unfamiliar, the control grid is this idea that there are unseen forces that are shaping our thoughts, our beliefs, and our behaviors through things like the media,
Right.
societal structures, and hidden agendas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So essentially what you're saying is they're trying to disrupt the system,
Yeah.
free humanity from this supposed manipulation.
It would seem that way. Yeah.
Okay. But as you mentioned earlier, their true intentions, I mean, they're still unclear. Are they benevolent liberators, or are they just trying to replace one form of control with another?
That's really the mystery here, isn't it?
That's the real question.
Yeah. It's a bit like a cosmic game of chess,
Yeah.
and we're not quite sure who's playing who.
Right, exactly. Are we pawns in their game, or do we actually have some agency to influence how this all plays out?
Oh, exactly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right, so I think it's time that we try to understand this control grid a little bit better and, figure out what it all means. But first, we're going to take a quick pause to let this all sink in.
Okay.
Stay with us because things are about to get even more interesting. Okay, so we're back, and I don't know about you, but my head is spinning a little bit after all that talk about the control grid.
Yeah.
It's a concept that, gets thrown around a lot in like conspiracy theory circles, but I gotta be honest, it's always seemed kind of vague and like nebulous to me. So
Yeah.
can you like break it down for us a little bit? What are we actually talking about here?
It's a complex idea, for sure.
Mm.
And it can encompass a wide range of, theories and beliefs.
Mm.
But I guess at its core, the control grid idea suggests that there are these unseen forces that are kind of at play in human society, and they're shaping our thoughts and our beliefs and our behaviors, often without us even knowing it.
Okay, so we're not just talking about like, your typical government conspiracy theory here. This is something deeper, something more like insidious.
Yeah, the idea is that it goes beyond just one organization or one group. It's like it encompasses this whole web of influences,
Right.
both physical and non-physical, that are working together to keep things the way they are, or to kind of steer humanity in a specific direction.
So what are some of the ways that this control could be happening? Like, how does it actually work?
Well, that's where things get a little more speculative.
Okay.
Some people think it has to do with the manipulation of information and narratives through media and propaganda, using subliminal messaging, even manipulating like energetic frequencies to influence our emotions and our behavior.
Frequencies. Like, you mean like sound waves? Or like electromagnetic radiation?
Yeah, it could involve those, but some of the folks that really subscribe to this control grid theory, they suggest that it goes even beyond what we can understand scientifically right now. They think that there are these subtle energetic fields that can be manipulated to influence consciousness on like a mass scale.
Okay, so this is where my brain starts to like melt a little bit.
Sure.
But I guess what we're saying is it's like a system of control that's working on multiple levels from like
Yeah.
the physical to the metaphysical, and it's using all these different tools and techniques to influence how we think and how we feel and how we act.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And the key is that it's often working, beneath our level of conscious awareness, so it makes it really hard to even notice it and to resist it.
So if we go back to those hypnosis transcripts, the Destroners, as they were called, they seem to believe that this control grid was something that needed to be challenged or even dismantled.
Right.
So why would that be? Like, what's so bad about it?
Well, the people that really believe in this control grid, they often see it as a tool for suppressing human potential, for keeping us trapped in this cycle of fear and scarcity and division.
Right.
They argue that it keeps us from evolving as a species, from achieving true freedom and self-awareness.
So these Destroners, if they're really motivated by dismantling this control grid, I mean, maybe they see themselves as like liberators.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Okay.
But as we talked about before, we're not really sure what their intentions are.
Right.
We can only guess, are they driven by altruism or is there something else going on?
Yeah, it's like they're playing this cosmic game of chess, and we're stuck in the middle of it.
Exactly. And the question is, do we just sit back and watch? Or do we try to figure out how to play the game ourselves?
That's a great question. And even if we accept this idea of the control grid, how do we like fight back against it? It seems so big and it's everywhere.
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think the first step is just becoming aware of it.
Okay.
The more we understand how it works, the better we are at noticing it and not letting it control us.
So becoming more conscious of like the information that we're taking in, questioning the stories that we're being told, paying attention to how we're feeling.
Exactly. It's about developing a critical eye, and becoming more discerning about what we let influence our thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
It's about taking back control of our own minds.
That makes sense, but it also sounds incredibly hard.
Sure.
I mean, we're bombarded with information and stimulation constantly from all directions. So how do we like filter all that and stay grounded in what we believe?
It takes effort for sure, and it takes practice.
Yeah.
But there are tools and techniques that can help.
Like what?
Well, practices like mindfulness meditation, for example.
Okay.
That can really train our minds to be more aware of our thoughts and our feelings without judging them.
Right.
It allows us to kind of step back and see them objectively, and then we can choose how we want to respond.
So it's not just about fighting back against these outside forces, but it's also about like building inner strength and resilience.
Exactly. The stronger our foundation is on the inside, the less we're going to be swayed by all the stuff that's coming at us from the outside. It's about building a solid sense of self and developing the ability to see clearly so that we can, navigate all the complexity in the world.
This is all really fascinating, but it's also kind of unsettling,
Yeah.
This idea that we're being influenced and manipulated in ways that we don't even realize is a little bit creepy, to say the least.
I understand it can be tough to face the possibility that maybe our view of reality isn't as objective as we think it is.
Right.
But I think facing that discomfort is essential if we actually want to break free from anything that might be holding us back.
So it's about being open to the unknown, being open to the possibility that maybe there's more to this reality than we realize.
Exactly. And maybe the very act of questioning and seeking deeper understanding, maybe that's the key to unlocking a greater level of awareness and freedom.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a rebellion, like a refusal to be controlled by forces we don't understand.
It could be seen that way, and maybe that's the point of all of this.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the Destronados or whoever's behind these events are trying to kind of wake up in us.
It's definitely making us question everything. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I think it's time that we shift gears a little bit and talk about how this drone technology could be impacting, not just our minds, but the physical world as well. We've got these reports of disruptions to infrastructure, wildfires, plane crashes,
Right.
that could all be linked to these drones. So let's explore that a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so we're back, and I don't know about you, but after that deep dive into the control grid, my head is spinning.
I know what you mean.
We've got this other layer to this whole story that we need to kind of unpack here, and that's the potential impact of this advanced drone technology on the physical world.
Right.
We've seen reports of disruptions to infrastructure, wildfires that are burning out of control, even plane crashes
Yeah.
that could all be linked to these mysterious drones.
It does seem that the potential for this technology to disrupt our world is a serious concern.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to the question we've been sort of wrestling with this whole time.
Right.
What are the intentions of whoever's behind these drones?
Right.
Are they just watching us? Or are they actually trying to influence what's happening here on Earth?
All right, maybe even disrupt the existing power structures, like those hypnosis transcripts suggested. It's a pretty scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
To think that all of these unexplained events, all this disruption to our lives could be the result of something that we have absolutely no control over.
It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, it really is.
But the evidence seems to suggest that there's more to it than just, coincidence or natural phenomena.
Right.
We're talking about a level of technology that's way beyond anything that we have. And that's both fascinating and kind of terrifying.
So what can we do about it? If these things can disrupt our infrastructure, cause wildfires, even bring down planes, how do we protect ourselves?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel powerless, when you think about how advanced this technology is.
Oh.
But I think the answer might lie in shifting our perspective a little bit.
Okay.
We've been focusing a lot on the external threats, the potential dangers posed by this technology.
Mm-hmm.
But what if the real key to dealing with all of this is actually inside of us?
What do you mean?
Well, we've talked about how important awareness is, developing our critical thinking skills, becoming more conscious of the information that we're taking in, the stories that we're being told.
Right.
But maybe the most powerful tool that we have is our own consciousness, our ability to connect with something bigger than ourselves, to tap into a source of wisdom and strength that goes beyond any technology.
You're talking about spirituality, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I'm talking about recognizing that we're not just physical beings. We're also spiritual beings. And we have this capacity for intuition and creativity and connection that extends way beyond the material world. And maybe it's by cultivating those aspects of ourselves that we find the resilience, the wisdom that we need to get through these uncertain times.
Okay, I'm following you.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that? Like, how do we cultivate this inner strength, this spiritual awareness in a world that feels so chaotic and overwhelming?
Well, there are lots of different paths you can take.
Right.
But I think it starts with a simple shift in focus.
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on all the fear and the uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
what if we choose to focus on the positive, the things that we can control, cultivating a sense of gratitude, a sense of connection in our everyday lives?
So instead of fighting against the darkness, we focus on amplifying the light.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to these challenges. We can let the fear consume us, or we can rise above it, tap into our inner strength, and create a reality that's more aligned with what we want to see in the world.
That's a powerful message, but it also feels kind of idealistic, a little bit woo-woo, like we've said before.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, how do we know if it's actually working? It's not like we can measure our spiritual growth,
That's true. There are no guarantees, no easy answers.
Yeah.
But I really believe that even the smallest acts of kindness, of compassion, of conscious awareness can have a ripple effect
Okay.
that goes way beyond what we can see or measure.
So it's about trusting the process, having faith that even in all this chaos and uncertainty, there's something bigger at work here, guiding us towards something better.
I think so. And maybe that's the message behind all of this. All these strange and unsettling events, maybe they're a wake-up call, something to remind us who we really are and to step into our full potential.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into this mystery of the drone sightings and what it all means for humanity, what's the one thing you want our audience to remember?
I would say this. The power to shape your reality is inside of you. Don't underestimate the power of your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions.
Right.
Cultivate awareness, embrace your spiritual nature,
Okay.
and trust that you have the strength and the wisdom to navigate whatever challenges come your way.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration.
That's right.
Keep questioning, keep learning, keep connecting with that inner wisdom.
Yeah.
The answers are out there waiting to be discovered.
And who knows, maybe in the process of searching for those answers, we'll discover that we are the ones we've been waiting for.
That's a great note to end on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. And until next time, Keep looking up and keep asking questions.